Martin Scorsese is without a doubt one of the greatest directors in history. I pretty confidently put him in the top 5. Now, I'm pretty sure you'll agree with me when I say that almost every great director has something unique about their approach, a style, if you will, something that you associate with them. Something that carries over to every film, regardless of the genre, tone, you get the point. Tarantino's signature dialogue and love for cinema can be found in a western, a World War II movie, and a kung fu movie. Fincher's iconic color palette and camera work is evident in a dark, gritty murder mystery, and also a movie about Facebook. Nolan has his manipulation of time through his intercutting, Edgar Wright has his signature style of editing, Nicholas Winding Refn has his colors, Steve McQueen has his long takes, and Wes Anderson has, well, Wes Anderson. But what about Scorsese? What is his style? What specific things does he do in every film he directs? Some could say the voiceover.
See, money doesn't just buy you a better life, better food, better cars, better pussy. It also makes you a better person.
But the only thing he ever directed was the casino. He made his first bet when he was 15 years old, and he always made money.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Well, there's no voiceover in The King of Comedy, Hugo or Shutter Island. What about the long tracking shots? There's only one proper one in Silence, and it's almost non-existent in The Departed, The Last Temptation of Christ, and it just goes on. How about the fast-paced, energetic style of editing that he's developed over decades of collaborations with editor Thelma Schoonmaker? So I guess the question should really be, does Martin Scorsese have a style, not what is his style? And the answer to that is he doesn't know. Scorsese himself said, and I quote, "I can't talk about my own style. I don't know what that is really. Other people could do it if they want, but I don't know how to." So the man himself doesn't know, which makes my job kind of hard, but I want to try anyway. Now there are some obvious factors that might help to define Scorsese's style from period to period. His collaborations with cinematographer Robert Richardson are without a doubt the most colourful and in some ways extravagant. His films, shot by Michael Bauhaus, feature more realistic lighting and colours, and his two latest films, The Wolf of Wall Street and Silence, which are shot by Rodrigo Prieto, fit nicely in the middle. So you could say that the people he works with might influence his visual style on a certain film, but then again, Scorsese, like every good director, knows that everything should work together to tell the story in the most effective way possible. Which means that the loud colours in Casino or The Aviator are justified. They service the extravagant nature of the story, characters and setting. The Departed and Taxi Driver are gritty crime films, so the visuals match that, and of course his religious films feature the most subtle direction, with Rodrigo Prieto himself addressing the fact that Scorsese wanted to be a lot more subtle when it came to shooting Silence.
He felt that it needed a certain restraint, and he knows that his language as a director, as his cinematic language, it can be complex and quick camera moves and sort of extreme. But he felt that Silence perhaps needed something different. So indeed, I think in the end we settled for maintaining that restraint he talked about. We didn't want to distract that with fancy camera work or moves. There are a few camera moves here and there, and some of them are quick, but it becomes very surprising and much more impact out of it.
He also talked about the insane differences between Silence and The Wolf of Wall Street from a cinematography point of view, proving that a master like Scorsese can tell an amazing story regardless of how dynamic or high energy the approach is. For example, there are tons of frames within frames in Silence to essentially show how the protagonist is trapped. Frames, 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 frames. And then you look at something like Hugo, which has a lot of camera moves, and this shot, for example, works to set up the intricate nature of the protagonist's daily life, while also establishing a sense of geography. There are slow, lingering shots in Taxi Driver, along with the use of zooms to really heighten the sense of unease within its protagonist. So as you can see, Scorsese is incredibly diverse in his approach, genuinely changing up his style to suit the needs of each film. You won't find jump cuts like these in The Age of Innocence, and you won't find long lingering shots of nature in Mean Streets. So is there anything that he carries over from movie to movie? I think the best way to find out is by examining a number of different conversation scenes from some of his most different films, with the one connecting thread being that it is between the main character and the force of opposition.
I'm 47. 47 years old. You know how I stayed alive this long? All these years? Fear. The spectacle of fearsome acts. Somebody steals from me, I cut off his hands. He offends me, I cut out his tongue. He rises against me, I cut off his head, stick it on a pike.
You got something you wanna ask me?
Look, you're 70 years old, Frank. I'm just saying, okay? One of you guys is gonna pop you. One of you guys is gonna pop you. And as for running drugs, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? You don't need the money or the pain in the ass, and they will catch you.
Come on, you know what I'm talking about. Just say the same. I think what Jordan just did is if I'm not mistaken, you just tried to bribe a federal officer.
No, technically I didn't bribe anybody.
No, that's not the conversation I heard,
no.
Jordan.
According to the U.S. Criminal Code, there needs to be an exact dollar figure for an exchange of services. That would not hold up in a court of law.
That's not how I heard it.
No. That's the truth.
Got you at last. Not the first time you've stolen from me, is it? My little thief. Huh? Quick, empty your pockets.
You're hurting me.
Empty your pockets, or I'll call the station inspector. Do as I say.
Don't you think it would be better for the man to forget about foreign women and choose one of his own?
Nationality is not so important when it comes to a marriage. What matters is love. Love and fidelity.
So they are pretty similar, but of course there are some differences. The scenes from Gangs of New York, The Departed, and Wolf of Wall Street all feature DiCaprio on the left looking to the right, and the opponent, if you will, looking from right to left. This is perhaps a subtle clue as to who is right in the scene, or I guess who we should be rooting for. Good guys are typically positioned on the left because we associate left to right as the way forward, which is why filmmakers can sometimes mess with this to show that things may not always be as they seem. Scorsese does this in the other two scenes. If you've seen Hugo, then you know why he does this. And in Silence, one of the themes of the movie is that no religion should really be seen as better than the other. So positioning Garfield on the right might be in an attempt to level the playing field a bit. I do want to clarify though that this whole left to right thing isn't an objective fact, it's just something I've noticed in more than a few films. So we've looked at the staging, which is relatively similar throughout, but what about the cinematography and editing? This is where things get even more similar. It's just your average shot reverse shot. There are no fancy long takes or wide two shots. It's either a single of a character or an over the shoulder, and aside from one or two occasional breaks in the pattern, it remains really consistent throughout. I have watched a fair amount of his films at this point, and I've gone back to rewatch a lot of his films in preparation for this video. And in doing so, I've realized that it's his diversity as a filmmaker that makes him great. A lot of people think that he only makes gangster movies and religious movies, and I guess part of why I wanted to make this video was to disprove that. Aside from some seriously minor things that we've just looked at, Scorsese is a genuine chameleon of a filmmaker, so in a way, it's his ever-changing approach to each film that sets him apart from others, and it's just one of many things that makes him one of the greats.